Hi everyone, Jackie here. Thursday, October 1st. It's a beautiful fall day, and thank you so much. I raised my goal to 2,500 yesterday or the night before. I can't remember now. Sometime recently, anyway, because we'd passed the $2,000 cap, and this morning we're at 2,402, so $98 away from this new goal. So I'm pretty sure I'll manage to reach that, and then I'll raise it again. At this point, my pledge of walking 5 kilometers per $100 raised, I think I might cap it at the 2,500. Honestly, I didn't think I'd even pass 1,000 with, people are struggling with the economic turmoil caused by the pandemic, so I didn't think that many people would be able to, but hey, I'm glad. But I will try to keep matching. I mean, if we go beyond, like up to 3,000 and beyond, I'll try, but I'm not going to promise to go beyond 2,500 in terms of matching my walking, because I am an avid walker, and I've been taking long walks since I was a teenager, but it hasn't been systematic necessarily. So doing it this many days in a row, I basically don't want to overdo it, just in case. So I will try, but I'm still kind of setting a boundary there, because the people who organize the Spirit Walk asked us to take, one walk. Usually it's one walk altogether on Mount Royal, and so they asked us to take one deliberate walk where we're thinking about the Spirit Walk and all that during this 12-day period. I'm the one who decided to commit to more of that and to try to put in some awareness raising into the fundraising. And I'm really enjoying it. I might continue this walk and rant thing after and do some more fundraising on my own for different groups in Montreal. We'll see. Some people seem to be enjoying my rants. I'm more of a blogger traditionally, but I know not everybody likes to read my long, nuanced posts. So yeah, and these videos, as you can see, if you've watched any of them, they're not scripted, they're off the cuff. So, and they're, that's the thing that, like, I'm really big into nuance. Nuance is my life, so I find I can never squeeze as much nuance into it, but I'm seeing it hopefully as a beginning of conversations, and people can ask me questions if they want clarifications about anything. And I want to reiterate that I'm not speaking for Indigenous people here. I can't. First of all, although we do have some Indigenous lineage in my family, Innu specifically, I didn't grow up exposed to that culture. I grew up with all the white privilege. So for all intents and purposes, I'm just another white settler, So so I'm not trying to speak for Indigenous people. I'm more trying to amplify voices that are already there, Indigenous voices, and to encourage my fellow settlers who might be new to this and who are, just starting to kind of learn about this stuff, to kind of direct you towards some of these different voices that are important to be exposed to. So probably before the end of the fundraiser, I'll post a few links for people to get started on their own personal journeys, because it really is a lifelong thing. Every day there's something new to learn, and the stuff that I've learned over the nearly 30 years, 25 maybe years that I've been devoting a big chunk of my professional and personal life to this is from, it's not in school. I didn't learn most of this in school. It's really reading the works of Indigenous people, going to workshops, plays, different kinds of presentations, attending ceremony when I can. So anyway, that's my preface today. I'm already I already took up almost 5 minutes of that. I'm trying to kind of keep these relatively short, so I'm just going to take a few minutes, and I can always take another video to ramble more about this, but I want to talk about land rights a little bit, because that's something that's ongoing. You know, there's always something in the news. Sometimes it doesn't make it to the news if it's not sensationalist enough, right? But yeah, I mean, sometimes I hear sometimes you know, settlers either in person or, you know, of course we're not supposed to read the comments on articles, but you do sometimes see a reflection of what a lot of people are thinking. Look down, I'm switching sides. And hear these comments about things like, you know, oh, why should Native people get more rights and everybody's supposed to be equal? And what people who say that aren't getting, because of course it's not really taught in, you know, in high school history and things like that, is that it's not about having special rights. It's kind of trying to compensate for rights that Indigenous people have always had until colonizers came and messed things up. And this is not just an opinion. It's not hyperbole. It's fact, you know? Indigenous peoples, and again, many nations across the continent had self-sustaining systems, you know, well-functioning economic, political, and social systems, you know. And of course, nothing's perfect. Everywhere in the world, any society you go to, there's going to be some jerks. Human emotions are human emotions everywhere. But overall, we're talking about systems that, you know, manage this stuff well. So, you know, there's a lot that we could talk about. But if we're talking about land rights, that relationship to the land, I mentioned this in a previous video, it is not, in most Indigenous worldviews, it's not a thing that you can own and exploit at will like a commodity. There's a connection of reciprocity. And so the land nourishes you by giving you food, materials to make your clothing and shelters with, water, all the things you need to survive as an individual and as a society. And in return, people take care of it, and they take care of it for, you might hear sometimes the expression 7 generations, well, for the following generations. So colonialism messed that up big time, because sometimes people, well, first of all, a lot of people died because of diseases that Europeans brought over, either whether it was intentional or not. There's debates around that. In some cases it was intentional after there was an observation that it was happening, just, you know, because Europeans had been exposed to these diseases, and even if they were immune to it, they could still carry it. Kind of like COVID, right? You can have the virus and not have any symptoms, but you're still giving it. I'm going to pause because there's some noise here. So yeah, you had, you know, a lot of people who died from these diseases, so lower populations. But then, you know, that what made it easier for colonizers to kind of displace people and take their lands. And over time, and this is all before Canada even became a country, when Canada did become a nation, a lot of that was based on more and more access to stolen Indigenous lands, and all the other stuff that we talk about, like residential schools, the Indian Act, it's all part of that. Because the idea of trying to assimilate people and changing their values, well, one of those core values is the relationship to the land. So if you break that, and if you have fewer and fewer people who are allowed to consider themselves Indigenous by colonial standards, then that just makes it easier. And so that's a very oversimplified nutshell of things. But and then there are treaties. I think I'll rant about treaties and broken treaties in a separate video. There's a lot to say on that. But all that to say that when people are saying land back, you might see that hashtag land back. It's like, yeah, it was stolen. And why, how can anybody think that it's okay to steal something and then acknowledge and apologize for it, but that everything's going to be okay just because you apologize, but then you didn't give people their land back. So, and it just boggles the mind. So all these, when you see people fighting for their land, and it's all over the place. So if you're here in Jojage in Montreal, you see it just in Ganazadage, you've heard about, or you were around if you're old enough, the Oka standoff of 1990, sometimes called the Oka crisis. Well, that never really got resolved, and people in Ganazadage are still fighting for their land, and it also winds up getting into things around messed up political structures with, if Canada negotiates with a community, they're not negotiating with the people, they're negotiating with the band council that they created as part of their colonial project. So that's really messed up, and that's a whole other topic as well. So I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole today, save that for another day. But the bottom line for today, what I'm trying to help folks think about, if this is new to you, and if you don't understand why, why, if you have that mindset of like, well, why should they have any special favors? It's not a special favor. It's trying to right or wrong. If you return something that's stolen to somebody, you're not fucking doing them a favor. All right? And if Canada invests money in things like clean drinking water, they're not doing them a favor. And they're not wasting, working Canadians' tax dollars and blah 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 and that bullshit. It's all this money, as I said in a previous video, and I shout it through from rooftops as often as I can. All the wealth that Canada has, all of it comes from the exploitation of Indigenous lands, and that required the displacement, assimilation, and even genocide of Indigenous people. So it's not a favor, it's what is owed. And it's even less than what is owed, because we're talking about generations of people whose lives have been messed up. So yeah, hashtag land back. So if you want to continue to inform yourself, that's something you can explore, learn about local actions of land defenders and water defenders, support them. If you don't have a lot of disposable income and you're in survival mode yourself, you can inform yourself, you can raise awareness. If you have supplies, like even if it's just one meal, they're out there camping out or something, you can cook one meal to bring to them, or help start a fundraiser. Like, it's always important to find out what it is that they want and need. Sometimes they'll ask for supplies, sometimes they'll ask for money so they can get the supplies that they know they need. So yeah, I'll stop there for today, because the last 2 videos have been kind of long and rambly. So that's it for today. So again, if you can share the fundraising page, help us reach our goals. Again, I'm not the only one fundraising for this, right? There's a bunch of people doing this, so you might know other people doing it. It's not too late to become a walker yourself. You don't have to walk every day. You can take one walk, one bike ride. I know somebody who's paddling for this. So whatever works for you. Jumping jacks in your apartment, maybe. I don't know. Yeah, it's not too late. The same link that you can donate at, you can also register there. And so yeah, thanks again, and I'll see you tomorrow.